Hey guys, can I help you?
How to configure DWM. I don't know how to read source code. How do you configure that?
Oh, I'm sorry, our company doesn't work that way.
Can we talk to your supervisor, please?
Oh, sure. Hey, David. Hi, is there a problem here?
Linux 2D.
Window managers are a crucial step in becoming a power user when using Linux. If you're tired of the buttons and menus and sometimes sluggish nature of conventional desktop environments, and you're curious to peek behind the curtains past the lighter desktop environments, then window managers are where you end up. Here are a few things to know. Window managers are chiefly controlled with keybinds, and GUI menus are either not present or they're very sparse. Window managers are very modular and very customizable, but they may prove more difficult to personalize than a desktop environment. Window managers are typically more efficient to use than desktop environments, but they have a learning curve and using one requires some getting used to. The two most popular options for window managers are either DWM or i3. Some key differences between the two is that DWM is extremely compact and lacks tons of features compared to i3 initially. Fortunately, DWM is very modular and can be patched to add tons of new features. This requires that DWM be recompiled from source every time you patch it though. The advantages to DWM's approach is that DWM has a light space footprint and will only contain the features that you need. DWM is frequently touted as being the superior window manager for these reasons, but people are put off by its initially long setup process and elitist methodology as compared to other more conventional options. The other most popular window manager is i3. i3 is the antithesis to DWM in the sense that it has tons of settings to play with from the get-go. The configuration for i3 is very easy to get into and is very well documented. There are forks of i3, but the stock settings offer enough options for most people. i3 also has different keybinds, but it doesn't really matter as you can simply configure any window manager to suit your preferences. With those respective options in mind, I'm going to give a simple tutorial on how to install i3 and how to mess around with the settings and personalize your desktop. Alright, here I am in my virtual machine. Just gonna be taking it for a spin and showing you guys how to get i3 on a typical Linux Mint installation. Nothing too crazy. Alright, that took a remarkably long amount of time. Alright, we're just gonna open the little terminal. So we're gonna do sudo apt install i3. The password is L, obviously. Bam, bam, bam. Do you want this shit? Yeah, I do. You know, wait for it to do its thing. Yakety yak, blah blah blah, you got it. And it's done, whatever. Alright, now the other step is right after you get it, just restart your system. So I'm gonna do just that. We are now at LightDM. Okay, never mind, splash screen, fuck you too. Okay, we're now at LightDM, so we're going to click this little button here and it's going to say Cinnamon. You want to click i3 because, well, we're going into i3. Now you're going to be greeted with this screen and, you know, things look a bit sparse, right? Like it looks a bit empty, a bit plain, and that's okay. Your computer's not broken, nothing bad happened. It's supposed to look like this. It's your status bar with a bunch of miscellaneous information of, you know, whatever piques your fancy, I guess. You can customize this later. You can also have your tray down here, so, you know, just in case you have any important applications down there. It's going to say you have not configured it yet. You should generate a configuration if you have not used i3 before, which I'm guessing you haven't because you're watching this video. So press enter and please choose, you know, whatever you want as your default modifier. Your modifier is basically the key that you press in combination with other keys to do things on the system. So for instance, if I press my modifier plus shift plus space, then that will make whatever you know, tiled window that I'm in into a floating window. So keep that in mind. Whatever your preference is, just choose that as your modifier. I'm going to choose win, and I will enter. And now we're just kind of in i3 fucking around. If you want to switch your workspaces, which is what these little numbered things are called, you do your modifier plus a number, and it'll switch your workspace. Now, nothing seemingly happens, but you know, the number on the bottom changes depending on which button you press. So I press 1, 2, 3, I press 4, but you get the point. Now, i3 by default actually comes with the D menu, which is the default menu for DWM as well. It's made by the same company. So if you press your modifier plus D, here's the D menu in all of its gloriousness, right? Minimalistic beauty. And if you want to launch an application, for instance, let's say Firefox, type in Firefox or get close enough to the point where it recommends it to you. And, you know, easy does it, press enter, and all of a sudden your Firefox is open. You know, simple as that. Now you'll notice that the window is actually expanding to fit my screen, and this is what a window manager kind of does. At least that's what a tiling window manager does. It's just whatever window you open, any application you open, those windows will not be floating by default. If I want to make this floating, the default configuration for that, the keybind, is shift plus my modifier plus space, and it's floating now. Then if I hold my modifier, I can move it around while clicking it. If I don't, it's just going to interact with it. If I hold my modifier plus right click on the window, I can resize it to my preference. So, you know, if you want to fuck around with your windows, and I mean, I personally don't use this all that much, but, you know, up to personal preference. And if I want to put it back to tiling, you know, shift, modifier, space, and, you know, we're back on track. If you want to open a terminal instance, the default keybind is your modifier plus enter. Bam, got a little terminal here with our special little fishy shell. And the path for the configuration for i3, if you want to change any of these keybinds or add any extra settings, is you usually would go into your home, which is a tilde and a slash. Forgot about that directory. .config /i3 /config. Let's see. Yep. So then you nano into config. Now this is the i3 configuration menu. Another tip is that if you hold your modifier while right clicking a window in tiled mode, you can actually help with, you know, modifying how much space any one window takes. And you can scale this even further if you have a bunch of windows and it's like, oh shit, what's going on here, right? So, you know, add to my preferences. Another keybind is your modifier plus E. That is the default, and that will change it from horizontal to vertical, kind of facing, how do you say it? I guess you could say horizontal to the vertical windows, right? Now also in i3, if you use your modifier plus W, it'll put all of your windows in this nice little tab configuration, right? So you can switch between them as you desire. If I want to make a few search queries here, or, you know, maybe I want to edit config here, or maybe I want to neofets for the Reddit fucking chudtards, right? If you press E, it's going to take you back to either horizontal or vertical configuration for your windows, and you press E again and it just loops around. So, you know, fuck around with that to your heart's content. Now these multiple workspaces are important because if you have a secondary monitor, it'll actually be on a separate workspace technically. So if I had a monitor to the right of here, then that would be workspace 2 and the first monitor would be workspace 1. Now if you want to switch a window to another workspace, you just do your modifier plus shift plus any workspace you want, and it'll move it to that. So I'm currently pressing 2 plus shift in my modifier, and I just moved all my windows to the second workspace. So let's say I want to have a browser on workspace 1 for some reason, because I want to watch videos on my first monitor. Alright, move that to 1, shift modifier 1, and it's in 1. So then I can just press modifier plus 1, and there you go. It's residing there. That is its new home. It is migrated. It's a bout of diaspora, right? Now, let's get into the kind of the nitty-gritty of it. The configuration here, it's honestly not complicated. It's quite, you know, I wouldn't say bare bones. It's just, you know, it's everything you need, honestly. And it even says, please see this website user guide for a complete reference. And, well, you should do that. Let's close the rest of these useless instances. But you might be asking yourself, how do I close Windows? Well, you do Shift plus your modifier plus Q. That's the default configuration for closing bullshit. So I've closed 2 terminal instances of bullshit. I do modifier plus 1 to go to my first workspace, shift, modifier 2 to move this window to my second, modifier 2, and now I got a nice orderly little neat configuration here. Nice. So let's say I want to go and check out this user guide, right? Let me just click that, copy link, oh, open link. Alright, cool. So here's a table of contents. I'm not going to go through every little thing because this video would be way too long. However, there are a bunch of little things that you can fuck around with. For instance, keyboard and mouse bindings. And let's look through the bindings for, let's say you want to start an alternative terminal. So if I look through here, and it says start a terminal. Now you don't have to mess with this unless you want to change the keybind, in which, you know, return is enter in this sense, so you could change it to, like, I don't know, fucking B or enter or backspace, whatever you want to start a terminal. But the mod here, you should keep your modification key, because, you know, why wouldn't you? So exec, it just means it's starting this terminal. It's starting the i3 terminal, which is the emulator that we're currently on. But if I have another terminal, I can just use that one as well. What kind of terminals do I have on here anyways? GNOME terminal. I have GNOME terminal. Okay. So instead, what if I was like, i3 terminal fucking sucks absolute dick, and I want to start the GNOME terminal? Then I would go to where it says start a terminal in the configuration file. Let's erase this, disgusting mess, this garble, right? And let's go GNOME terminal. Now you might be asking, how the fuck am I gonna, let that stick? Because the configuration by itself, it's not going to auto update. The way that you deal with that is Shift plus your modifier plus C, and that restarts your session. So you can basically change the keybinds for doing anything under the sun, really, because it's a window manager. You use keybinds for everything, and you gotta customize it to your preferences. Now, if you're okay with the defaults, then you don't really gotta worry about this, but usually what I would do is that I would change my kill focused window to C. Shift plus my modifier plus C, because it's easier for me. For other people, it could be a, fucking E, B, the N, I don't know. Change it to your liking. You read the little comments right here with the, what the fuck are these things called? Not hashtags, fucking, not ampersands, dude, I forgot. Pound symbols or fucking whatever, right? Pound symbol. Read the comments, with the pound symbols, and see what they do, and modify them to your heart's content. So let's say that I want to make my i3 look a bit snazzy, maybe make it look more presentable, right? So let's make an objective here. I want to get window icons. Here's the article for it, and here's some examples. Now for all windows, and I want a window icon, and maybe I want a bit of padding just so I can see it better. I'm gonna copy this, and we're just gonna paste it into the configuration here. Bam, there it is. Now keep in mind the version number here. The version number for Ubuntu and Mint, I believe, is 4.21. So if any of these features that are put in the configuration on the website here are 4.22 or later, you can't use those features. And at that point, I'd recommend that you just get i3 directly from their website. But otherwise, using the repository isn't really an issue, and it's your preference. Now we're going to restart our i3 configuration or session with Shift modifier plus C. And now these windows aren't going to show the icons because I have to open a new window in order for it to display. So let's open a new instance of Firefox. And would you look at that? The Firefox logo right there. Okay, cool. What else can we do? Now here's the border style. You can change the border style right here. So for example, if I want no fucking border at all, ever, right, then I would look for default border and then default border, and I can choose any one of these three options. So I'm gonna make my default border none because I don't want these ugly looking stupid fucking borders on my windows. Alright, cool. Paste it, and we're gonna put none. Then we're gonna Control X, Y, enter, and we're gonna reset our i3 with Shift modifier C. Now if I open a new window, I put modifier D, D menu, Firefox, bam, no border to speak of. So, if you want something a bit more seamless and you don't want these ugly little fucking borders on there, there you go. Good for you, right? Now let's say that I want to change my font, like this font looks kind of garbo. But in order to change my font, I'd have to bring the windows back because then I can't see the fonts if there's no window title. So let's make the border instead pixel, and let's give it a ton of space. Let's make it 25 pixels worth, right? So Firefox again, and oh my fucking lord, that's a lot of border, right? You're usually not going to want to do that, but for the sake of experimentation, let's call it that. There's your chunk, your super chunk fucking peanut butter border there. Now, what if I want to change my font? Well, first of all, let's go into Nano and let's use Control plus W to find out where the font controls are. Now, I don't actually have to do this because it's right there, but that's what you would do to find any other option. Now, here's the font, Pango Monospace. What if I don't want that? That's garbage. So instead, let's change that shit to what the website says. Let's make it Terminus. Let's see how Terminus looks, right? and this one says 8. We're gonna change it to be super fucking chunky, ultimate thick mode. We're gonna make it 20. Now it's gonna be a very big boy. We're gonna use Shift modifier C, and oh my fucking god, this is an elderly man's computer, and you must be geriatric or have cataracts if you need to use your system like this, or you are mentally insane and you need to get put the fuck away. But for the sake of, you know, kind of just showing what she can do, there you go. Now if I want a wallpaper, right, first of all, let's get rid of this bullshit. Clear, out of here. Now I want a wallpaper, so let's get one. The first thing we're gonna do to have a wallpaper in this you know, this desolate fucking wasteland of a desktop right now is first I'm gonna do sudo app install feh, however you want to pronounce it, right? Sounds like a, you know, some Asian soup or something. We're gonna get feh, and then now we gotta download an image secondly. Alright, let's look for a funny Tux Linux wallpaper. What do we got, right? It's gotta be something good. You know, if I want to make it like this badass fucking epic Star Wars tux, right? Then first of all, I'm going to save it, right? Let's save it to our home directory. And now we're just going to do, what is it, feh, and then we're going to do bg, and we're just going to do center, or you can do bg scale, or you can do bg tile, doesn't matter. I'm going to do tile because the image might be a little small. And then we're going to go to the directory where the image is stored. So / for home. And would you look at that? It's already there. It's almost like it was, you know, in God's fucking plan for this to happen. Now we're gonna do feh, and bam! Would you look at that? Oh my fucking god, that's certainly something, right? Now this wallpaper isn't going to stick with you on every single reboot, because it's just not the way it works in i3 land and with the rest of the window managers typically. But now I'm pretty sure we can go to settings, right? Let me find settings here. Cinnamon settings. So we got cinnamon settings here with the really chunky borders. Let's just close this for now. Or actually, let's keep this open. So we got cinnamon settings, right, with our chunky borders. We've opened it with our D menu, cinnamon settings. And now we're going to look for startup applications. Since I am stupid, I cannot find them. But I'm sure I'll be able to. There they are. Now, what if I want to have a wallpaper whenever I start my computer because I don't want it to erase itself every time I start my shit up? We're going to do custom command, name it wallpaper, background, whatever the fuck you want really, and we're going to put the command that we use to start a wallpaper. So I'm not going to type all that in again, so we're just going to there you go, and there she is. Beautiful. Comment fuck you. And bam. Now every time I restart my computer, do you know what I'm going to be greeted with? I'm going to be greeted with, when I restart my computer, I'm going to be greeted with this now. Because I am a degenerate, and my life is Linux. And I am so obsessed with this penguin creature that looks like a fucking egg that I'm willing to wake up to this every single day and call myself a serious computer user. Well, that concludes our little kind of demonstration of i3. Have fun with your new window manager and don't get too full of yourself because it's not that, you know, not that crazy. Anyways, peace out. Have fun. I'm gonna shut this fucking thing down for the rest of my life. Goodbye.